welcome to Diaspora Gist. Believe it or not, this is taking quite a bit of time to set this up, but here we are. We have an interesting guest tonight, but before I talk about that, as you can probably see him down there, let me introduce my sister to you, the troublesome sister that I have. My name is Dr. Ayo. Introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Oyinkan and Ayo, and it takes one to know one. So that says it all.
This disrespect just continues. Anyways, okay.
I didn't do anything.
Let me let you introduce our special guest tonight, our first celebrity guest. Okay, I can see your excitement. Okay, go ahead and introduce him.
Okay, I'm so honored and excited and all the words that you're supposed to put in between and before to introduce our guest. I've always loved the Lighthouse family, more especially since it happens to be my cousin, right?
Well,
you know, and I can
trouble if you didn't.
I can genuinely say I know someone that's famous. So hey guys, it is my honor to introduce to Diaspora Gist for the first time, Tunde Baiyewu.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for coming on. This has been a long time going because we've been trying to get you out to Atlanta where we record. Thanks to coronavirus, they've insisted that we had to do this by Zoom, which I think works out, especially except for the fact that I've had to use to try to set this up for the last half an hour, which is
coronavirus. Coronavirus.
But hey, here we are.
What you've done to my brother's tech ability. I don't want to see anything else.
I know. Don't let us talk about it. All the other stuff has gone on. So Tunde, congratulations on your recent tour. I know that you've done you've come out of 2 tours actually around the UK and towards the end of last year, and you had another one early this year. And I know you were supposed to be going to South Africa just before the coronavirus pandemic hit the world.
Yeah.
So how have you been coping?
Well, as far as coronavirus really, it's like it's put a spanner in the works for everybody, to be honest. Like you said there, we were just about due to go to South Africa, and that had to be cancelled. So that's rescheduled for next year, and a few other things as well that we were going to be doing this year.
Yeah, summer tours. Yeah.
But overall, to be honest, it's kind of, it's bad what the virus is doing and how it's kind of changing the world for a lot of people. Yeah. That's very, 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 it's not a good thing. But in terms of the lockdown and having to just take stock and stay at home and not go out that much, it's been fine. I've actually been enjoying it, not having to run around so much. Because the strange thing, I know people look at things like, well, in my industry, touring and involves a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just find that, I'm a Sagittarian. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but generally it's known that Sagittarians do like to travel. So that is actually very true of me.
That's true.
But what I found was, just over the years, as you get older, and especially when you have to do...
I don't know who's older.
Well...
okay, I don't know. You talk about yourself. Talk for yourself.
A day older than I was yesterday.
Okay, better.
So, but yeah, as that happens, I just find, because we had to do a lot of traveling, I find that nowadays I don't really like traveling that much.
That's
I like
interesting.
the act of being in a new place.
Yeah, but the actual process of getting
there, if I could, I'd avoid it. So I'm quite comfortable at the moment just staying at home and watching the world.
I can see you in your studio though. Is that work related, or is that where you are always finding yourself?
And that's true, yes, because that's the other thing. You kind of have a bit of time to sort of catch up on some of the things that I haven't done in the past. As musicians, you're always buying new gear and new software and new things. So you never really get to, some of them can be quite complicated and you can do a lot of things. So you never really get enough time to sort of learn how to use them. So it's just been nice being at home, messing around with the piano, just being a bit creative and reading and stuff like that.
So what new thing are you messing around with instrument-wise? I'm just curious. You said, you're trying to mess around with things. What are you?
Yeah, just messing around. Mostly the piano, which is back there. Just I have pianos all over the place. I've got one up here. I've got one downstairs. So if there are too many people running around in the house, I kind of sneak away from the reception room downstairs and come upstairs and lock myself.
I remember that room very clearly many years ago. That room used to have cartons of some water I used to import from. Sorry, I had to bring this in. Oyinkan, maybe you didn't notice, but my Tunde used to he used to import some. What is the only person that I knew? Since then I've met quite a few others, but I will import water and tell you that water is special water. So I used to ask him, okay, what's the name of that water again?
Well, you'll be asking me that'll be branded. I don't want to mention any. I'm not gonna.
I can't remember what the water was.
It's a special water. Let's just call it special water.
Special water.
Yes. Well,
all the way from California.
Okay.
I used to ask him now, Tunde, this water, look, I'm a scientist. I understand. I'm a doctor. And when we were growing up, even if you didn't you didn't practice, you did chemistry. Chemistry is H2O. Now, this water, is it H2O or does it have another? Because as far as we know, globally, water is H2O. And on the bottle, as I'm seeing it, it says hydrated water. Now, if you're hydrated and it's water is double water. So I'm thinking, this when you become successful and you are wealthy, the things that go through your head, till now I still have a problem with it.
I have to push back on something.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that's to my brother. You said that you're a doctor and you still remember chemistry. That's
yes. Now why not? Why? I went to school sometimes.
You went to school. Even look at the way you're saying, you're not even saying it confidently.
I'm writing a book now, so I saw there are some secrets that will come out in the book. But right now, yes. So yes, I went to school and I did qualify as a doctor. Yes, and everybody knows Tunde water. You used to import water from California.
Okay.
Now I filter my own water.
Thank God. But you had filter then.
No, I didn't have a filter then. Nice. Now I have a powerful filter.
You know all those things that you read, all those things that you read about celebrities in Hello and all those magazines. It's true. They are really eccentric. They are really, really eccentric. I swear.
Listen, look at how good he looks. Come on, it takes work to look good.
Oh God!
I'm not saying that he don't look good.
I am not saying
he looks really good.
Tunde and I are very close in age, and what I've always said to him, you see, when he didn't listen to me, when I got tired of him, because he had all these funny things on one of the cabinets, and I would see uranium, plutonium. I'm like,
no, I never.
Why? Where do you give all these extraterrestrial things from? How do you want to live longer? What is happening here? He will say that no, that I don't understand that this uranium. I said, look, uranium is poisonous, plutonium is poisonous. All these uraniums that you have, okay, you want to live longer, okay. The best thing that will happen is that if I die at 70, you're coming at 71.
That's too
because
long.
of that 1 year. Because of that 1 year that you're taking all these things. You better step back from it and just enjoy it and stop it.
Yes. Yeah, well, fair enough. But it's
still a herbalist in.
You're right. Sometimes creative types, we do have our eccentricities. So it's okay. Just allow us to indulge ourselves. You need to have sort of active and vivid and a bit out there imagination to do creative things. So
everybody goes to like Target or sorry, to Walmart or whatever you call it. To Morrison's here or Tesco's here to buy tea. Tunde buys his tea from Tunde's tea. Oh God. Anyway, let's because I have when it still confuses me till today with all the things he does. But hey, have you coped so far? Anyway, you've made it so bearable. What have you really been up to apart from the music side of things? Have you been reading a lot? Can you recommend any books?
I tend to.
I know you read. I know you read quite a bit.
Yeah, I used to do quite a bit of that. Nowadays I like kind of poetry. I'm not sure.
So, but it says in all the songs that your lyrics now is already poetic enough. Now you still need to.
Yeah, but well, of course you do. Yeah, there's no end to. Sometimes I always say, for me, the yardstick for judging if I really like something that somebody else has done is whenever I hear it or read it, and I think to myself, oh man, I wish I had said that. Mm. And there's never, and that can happen to anybody in any field. I wish I'd made that discovery, or I wish I'd said that the way this person has said.
Oh, I wish I had won the lottery ticket. Mm.
Just the way that other person.
I wish I'd become a celebrity like you.
This is it. This is what it's all there for, to inspire. So, and I don't think there's ever going to be any end to that. You know what I mean? It's like, you'd read some poem somewhere or listen to somebody else's music or song, and a lot of the time it's good to sort of discover something that was done in a way that you never thought.
Oyinkan is always often asked, and I know a lot of people have asked that, about how you got into the Lighthouse Family, simply because when she was still a kid, when obviously this was blowing up. How did this whole thing start? Yeah, it's to be honest with you, even when I think about it, and look back, it was just one of those fortuitous things that kind of life just kind of nudged you in that direction. You think you're on one track or in one lane, and then life comes up, blows a wind and nudges you into a different lane. In a way, that's kind of what poetry. So I was up in Newcastle, just finished study. I graduated up in Newcastle. Paul did as well. Newcastle in England?
Yes, in England. Newcastle. I
guess we're here in England. Oyinkan's in Atlanta, by the way. So yeah, okay, go ahead.
And just after we'd graduated, we were both working in separate bars, just to earn a little bit of extra money. Kind of, what it's like in your student days. Kind of get a part-time job doing that. But I had a lot of friends who were studying music technology. I mean, I didn't study that. That's not what I went up to Newcastle to study. But some of these friends who were also DJs at radio stations, some pirate radio stations, would have certain projects they'd have to hand in. And those projects obviously meant or involved producing a full track to be assessed and use all the technology and all that sort of stuff. And a proper track, like a song. So I'd sung on some of those songs for some of those friends. And unbeknownst to me, they thought they were so good. Those demos were so good when we did them. And for me, it was just fun. I was just larking around, They sent them off to different record companies and publishers. So there was already a little bit of an interest. People had heard my voice, different record company people and stuff like that. So what had happened shortly after that was Paul had a song, and he had asked, because these friends were mutual friends. I didn't know Paul at the time, but he knew those guys. And he had said to them, oh, I've got this track that I want to just record and get done, because soon I'm going to have to go and get a proper job. So I want to just get it out of my system and record it. Do you know a singer? And some of them said to him, oh, yeah, we know somebody who can do that. Tunde can do that for you. So, and that's how we were both linked up.
What song was this?
The song was a song called Ocean Drive.
Ocean Drive.
Yeah, and I remember meeting up with Paul at this friend's house, and Paul, he came to the meeting with a cassette tape. Not even sure if those exist anymore still.
And you're old.
Well, because listen, be careful, because
I told you she's very disrespectful.
Listen, before she starts saying something like that, let me knock her back in line. Let me put her back in line.
Thank you, Tunde.
Cassette tapes and vinyl records they're the trendiest things at the moment in the music industry. Like most records that are released, what you'd find that like record companies try or do the best they can to print vinyl.
Vinyl, yeah.
Vinyl,
That's come back, yeah.
Come back. Same thing with tapes.
Oh, really?
Maybe a couple of years ago that was not the case.
Yeah.
I remember like maybe 2-3 years ago, if you asked a lot of people that are just getting involved in music nowadays, says, "Oh, vinyl, LP." They look at you.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, they don't know what that is, but it's becoming a cool thing to have now. So, but anyway, back then we were cool. Back then, you see, we had our track on tape, cassette tape.
Yeah.
So I remember anyway, I heard the song, listened to it, and I just fell in love with it. I just thought, oh wow, it kind of took me back to when I was a kid growing up in Nigeria.
Right.
So I fell in love with the song, and we just went and recorded it. And what had happened after we recorded that song, everybody heard it, and everybody was saying, "Oh, you got to do something with this. This sounds really good." And so what happened was, Paul and even some of these other friends sent that demo. We recorded more than one song. There was one, Ocean Drive. There's another one called, I think, Once in a Blue Moon, stuff like that. Which was never. I'm not sure if we ever even released that.
Can I hold you? Yeah. Can I ask you something? Can you hold your thoughts there for a minute? All your tracks have something to do with the solar system, moon, ocean. Well, is there any I shouldn't say substance, or I don't know, what is it that high? Because you have a track called High, don't you? Sorry, I mean I'm just
no, you're right. You have a track called
even this your new album. What's it called again?
Blue Sky in Your Head.
So I'm just really curious.
I remember one of the shows, this was years ago, with one of our friends. I think you know him, Suki.
Yeah, of course.
He came to some of our gigs and some of our shows. And I remember one day I was standing with him. I think we were at his house. He said, "Man," he says, "dude, don't take this the wrong way, but I've got to ask you, because a lot of your songs, you've got Lost in Space, High, Once in a Blue Moon, Lifted." He said, honestly, people are going to start thinking you guys are on some heavy duty stuff.
No, because it's incredible. Everything.
What I'm trying to say is it has been observed, yes. No, but to be honest with you, I think the essence of what we do has a spiritual angle to it.
Even the name of your band, the Lighthouse. I mean, everything just seems to be, and that was the Lighthouse is inspired by where you guys met, isn't it? In Newcastle.
Lighthouse.
Yeah.
There are a couple of lighthouses. St. Mary's Lighthouse and stuff. So really, yeah, you're right. The name of the band came out of that, but also dovetailed with the song. The song that got us our record deal was that song, Ocean Drive.
Ocean Drive.
Right. Yeah.
Ocean Drive as a song it's a marine type song. It's connected to the ocean.
Yeah. Oh, it's obvious. I mean, it's called Ocean Drive, isn't it?
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But Newcastle is also a coastal city, so it's close to the ocean.
Yeah.
So everything just tied in together, really.
When you first heard yourself on radio, how did you feel? I know how I felt when I heard Lifted. Lifted was the first single I heard. I hadn't heard the Ocean Drive. I heard Lifted, and I remember that I almost crashed my car. I was driving from the hospital. I was enjoying the track. Okay. Don't get me wrong, it was a remix. I was enjoying the track until they finished it and said the name the Lighthouse Family. It didn't make any sense. I was still driving, and they said, "Oh, and Tunde Baiyewu." I was like, and I was like, "Who's that?" Tunde who? Like, I only be one Tunde Baiyewu in this world.
Okay, so let's put some context. You guys hadn't seen each other at that point for almost a decade, right?
Yes, we hadn't seen each other for about 10 years. I mean, I knew that. I mean, mom and auntie were obviously still in touch, and I used to still see his sister Kofo, and every now and then speak to Dio. But he, for whatever reason, he had gone lost in space somewhere in Newcastle. So, and for whatever reason, I just thought this. Everybody's in London. Trust Tunde to go to Newcastle. One of these days, I will see him. Of course, there's nothing as good as a celebrity named somebody. Immediately, I started to look for his number when I left.
They be telling you to call all this one.
I said look for his number. Eventually, I left a message on his. Actually, what happened was I left a message on your phone. And you were touring because Lifted was your second album. It was your second single. Yeah. And I think you were touring then, and you were doing your promo tour, and I left a message, and then he calls me back from somewhere. Oh my God, I felt like a star.
No,
Everything. The next day after he called me, the next day after he called me, all the patients, consultants, I just tell them, hey, what do you do? Why are you late? I was talking to my cousin. You know that song, Ocean Drive? That was so cool then. That was so cool. But how does it feel knowing that you've sold over 12, 13 million albums?
It's more than that. Isn't it almost 20?
Well, if you talk about the singles, I don't know if you start to count all the other stuff now. But that's just multi-million albums, platinum selling artist. Or how does it feel do you still the first time? Okay, actually tell me how did it feel the first time you knew you had done your first 1 million albums?
Oh, that was amazing, because to be honest, when we started, I have to say I was the reluctant one of the two of us. Yeah. You know, Paul
typically.
He's always like, come on, we've got to go. You know, you say, Island Record want to meet us, Polydor Record, and all these publishers and stuff. And I used to, at the time, I was still deeply stuck in the mentality, that African mentality of, listen, my parents sent me up to Newcastle to study one thing. I can't go back and tell them that my job now is as a musician, because most African parents.
How did Auntie take it?
She wasn't too enamored with the whole idea. To be honest, when I first told her, I remember she looked at me and she said, because she didn't want to get into an argument, she would just say to me, okay, that's fine. It's just a hobby. It's fine. It's a hobby. Enjoy it. It's a hobby. But
that'll be right.
You've got to get a proper job. And to be honest with you, she was actually echoing, in a way, what I
was thinking.
Used to think. Yeah. So when we first started, that was the thing. Paul would, we'd have to go to London and meet all these people. But I was kind of still not sure, because I used to think, well, how does it work? How, you become a musician, make records, if it's not something that you can do long term into the future. I just didn't really understand or grasp
how you can sustain yourself.
How sustaining it would be. And I think a lot of that has to do with our African sort
heritage.
of like,
heritage. No, not heritage. African. Heritage. This is heritage.
Where you're brought up.
Where you're brought up. Yeah.
And remember, growing up in a place like Lagos.
By the way, Tunde was born in London and he came back to Nigeria at the age of 5. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And but growing up in Lagos in those teenage years, the most prominent. I mean, I know you had Fela Kuti. You had Sunny Ade, you had Ebenezer Obey and stuff like that. But Fela Kuti was the most prominent one.
Yeah.
And it was so well known that whenever Fela's name was mentioned, it was trouble. There was always trouble. It was always anti-government
rebellion.
There was always something going on. And our parents were somehow brainwashed into thinking that any sort of creative line of work that was going to be the end result. So it was never really. So they always pushed to, you have to go and be an accountant, or you have to be a doctor. Or at one point, I remember I had to go and meet up with an uncle of mine when I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in terms of picking either science or art subjects. And this uncle, he said, you can, he taught me all this flowery language. And then when I came out after the meeting, I was sure of myself that yes, I want to be a pilot. Because this uncle was a pilot.
Space again. Can you see space?
Okay, again. Go Uncle Bayo. But again, you have this being in the air again.
There you go. So this being in the air theme.
This being in the air theme has always been
followed me from when I was very high. But that was the thing. So going back to your question, so I wasn't sure the whole music thing. But what happened was when things started kicking off and taking off, that's when I started thinking, ooh, this is really happening, you know? And then before you could say Jack Robinson, it was like the whole machinery of the whole thing had grabbed me by the collar and was just dragging you along. You just couldn't, you had to go with it. I mean, I remember the first time we heard our single played, it was played on Radio 1, and we were, you know, we used to have to go up and down the motorway to lots of radio stations to do little interviews and do acoustic sets and talk about the record. And the first time, I remember we were in one of those little minibuses driving on one of those, I think it was one of those A roads, you know, those small roads going up north. And was it Lifted? It was either Lifted or Ocean Drive came on the radio. And we had to pull up, we had to stop.
So even you as well.
We were so excited. Jumping up and down. Says,
so I don't feel bad after all.
Yeah. I mean, the song, it went in at number, I think it was 40-something or 30-something the first time. But we were so excited. It was like, if you can imagine, after graduating from university, and maybe like talking about maybe a year or two shortly after that, you have a song that's like in the charts and it's being played on the radio. So we were just over the moon and excited. So it was like that. There were little sporadic things like that would happen that will kind of slowly turn my mind into thinking, actually this might be. But for quite a long time, I was still holding a big chunk of myself, holding it back, not fully throwing myself or getting carried away with the whole thing.
Right.
I threw myself into doing it because I loved it. But I didn't allow it to sort of like, you know, sort of change my, I don't know, point of view as to what it meant or whether I could do it seriously and for a longer period of time.